Yeah, the number 2 machine, 19th overall. Matteo Medic aboard that machine.
Oh, let's not
drop it. Exactly. Or snap anything off it.
Yeah, not too much damage there. Obviously, it needs to come into the pits. It's going to need some work because that exhaust is pretty badly crumpled. But it might not be enough damage to rule them out.
The front brake handle are gone as well. Markus Reiterberger, big, tall German aboard the BMW Motorrad machine. And he's another rider that's found a real home for himself in the Endurance World Championship. Had a World Superbike career, an IDM champion as well. But gone from strength to strength in this World Endurance paddock.
Just getting some messages from my colleague Thomas Kuttruff, who I work with at German magazine Speed Week, tell me to keep an eye on the rookie riding the Motos number 45 bike, a German kid called Max Schmidt, who is only 20 years old, riding his first ever 24-hour race. Just looking at his times, he's doing a really, really impressive 1:39.3 in his last lap. I mean, to be doing only a second slower than the race leaders at this point on a bike that is not like anything else in this race. That hub steering Motos is a really, really impressive feat, especially for a 20-year-old rookie. That's someone that could be very much putting themselves in the radar of some of the factory teams in the near future.
And that's the opportunity that presents itself. That's what the EWC does. It's another vehicle for that manufacturer job that a lot of the younger riders are after. Reiterberger on it through Chemin-de-Boeuf. 1:37.2 last time around for the German. Quickest rider out on track at the moment. We're going to go down and hear from Kenny Foray, who's in that Tecmas garage.
Working really hard on the bike. Tell me what happened.
I don't know exactly. Just after the long straight, I take off the gear and I hear a small noise, and I understand directly it was not normal, so I come back really slow, and now we check the engine for beginning. I hope it was the exhaust, but I think no, so we check.
And before that, the bike was feeling fine?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
As we hear from Kenny there, that that bike that we saw in the garage getting some work done in under the engine sounds, unfortunately, a little bit terminal. Whenever you hear knocking coming from the engine at this point in the race, it's generally a pretty bad sign. We've had a few others had similar issues throughout the race, and unfortunately it's been the end of theirs as well. So yeah, that's disappointing as we look back at the race that they've had so far. Starting off one of the top teams in the Superstock class, but then unfortunately that crash just as darkness set into the race, back into the pit box for a very, very quick repair job from one of the most professional teams in the Superstock Championship, and able to get back going again and back into the race. But then, as we heard from Kenny there, into the pit box with that knocking noise that he's heard somewhere on track, and a deep dive into the machine trying to get it fixed, but not sounding very good for them, unfortunately.
From one BMW to the other. This one sounding a lot better, thankfully. The German manufacturer still in second place and looking very, very good at this stage. 4 laps, the advantage Markus Reiterberger has on Roman Ramos, the Spaniard aboard the Kawasaki. 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. Dan Linford aboard the Yoshimura Cert, leading still. He's got a lap advantage over Marcus Reiterberger. And I have to say, you know, that's only 97 seconds. Still a long way to go. As we see another
the Bollinger Kawasaki down.
EWC machine now down.
Bollinger, one of those teams that has been in endurance racing forever, and who never make headlines. But you know, you look at the position at the end of the end of the race and think, oh, they've creeped into a really good result, as we see there. You know, they're running P7 before that crash, before Nicolo Thoni fell off. So hopefully not too much damage done as they head back into the pits and try and get back out as soon as possible again.
Went down very early on in the corner entry to Musi there. So must have had an issue as soon as he hit the brakes, really. Didn't get a chance to tip it in. You can see the remnants of the airfield. The other bonus for the airfield is actually you can do some testing if you've had an issue and you don't go out on track. You can get some straight line running on that airfield before warm up or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a good place just to, you know, you're not going to learn much about you know, if you're trying to sort out something complicated in the bike.
You can shake something down,
if you're shaking down, or if you're betting in a new engine, if you've blown an engine, something like that.
Something has come off the number 8 machine. That is the Bollinger bike that we saw in the gravel. So shedding bits and pieces. And that's what a lot of people are feeling right now. Just desperately trying to find some shut-eye.
Yeah, you know, I feel sorry for the yard mechanics, because it's such a good race, such a rhythm and a routine, until things suddenly got dialed up with that crash and having to do sort of 20 minutes of absolutely frantic repair work to the machine whenever no one was really expecting it. It's certainly enough to wake you up, but disrupts your whole rhythm and your whole routine as well.
Well, 20 minutes left of our stint. We came into the booth and Mandy Kites had a little bit of a smile on his face, and the Yamaha was going very well. And then it all went wrong. We've had all the drama over our stints in the commentary box. Yamaha in the hands of Karel Hanneke. If you're just joining us, that bike had led for so long, approaching the 16-hour mark, and unfortunately the conditions and a little bit of optimism on the behalf of Karel Hanneke meant that that bike went down the road, and have managed to get the bike rebuilt back out and in the hands of Nicolo Canepa, going very quickly indeed, but they're down in 4th place now.
Yeah, we're going to have a new podium order soon, though, because just looking at the lap times, they're 2 seconds a lap quicker than Roman Ramos Alvaro in front of them on the number 11 Kawasaki, and their lead now for 3rd place is only 22 seconds.
Nicolo Canepa mounting the fight back, and we've already seen one titanic fight back in this race. That was the Yoshimura Cert bike. All the way through the night, they hammered and hammered and hammered away at it, and it paid off in the end, because not only did they push up onto the rostrum spot, they managed to catch BMW. And in that melee and in that drama, when Karel Hanneke went down and BMW had that slow service, Yoshimura Cert, a real smash and grab here at Le Mans, went from 3rd to 1st in one foul swoop. And now it's Dan Linford who heads the field. There's the Kawasaki squad, and they are looking on because it's their Charger their man Roman Ramos, who's being hunted by Nicolo Canepa as the 54 down in the gravel at Dunlop chicane.
And not too much damage there, thankfully. I think that's that should be a relatively quick repair job for the number 54 team once they get it back into the garage. Nicolo Canepa, the fastest man on track by a second. As we see the Team Bollinger bike into the box. Hopefully they don't take too long in there. They've actually held on to that 7th position so far with a little bit of buffer around, so they've got a little bit of time, before they have to start worrying about losing out in the top 10 positions. With the number, the number 36 bike holding on to 10th spot at the minute, still 10 laps behind where the Bollinger guys are. So they've got a good 20 minutes to get that bike back on track before they lose too many places.
Now the timer ticking. What's the gap this time around? There's Ramos Alvaro. And here comes Nicolo Canepa. I'll have to say it's stabilised a little bit, but 20 seconds is not really the buffer that you need when you've got a fast-charging Italian like Nicolo Canepa hunting you down on that Yamaha.
Yeah, and that is exactly what he's doing. It is good to see that Ramos has just responded a little bit in terms of lap time. He's trying to do what he can to hold on that position, and he's cut the amount of time that Canepa's taken out of him every lap by a bit, but unfortunately it's still coming down at a rapid rate of knots.
Yamaha crew looking on, and you can see the sort of hollow fatigue in the faces.
Fortunately, not too much of that setting in our end. We're looking better than they are, but then we're not putting up with the freezing cold conditions that they've got, are we?
We are very sprightly in the commentary box here at Le Mans. This 47th running of this iconic race. 14 wins for Kawasaki, Suzuki and Honda, only 4 for Yamaha. BMW with no win here at the 24 de Mans.
I mean, the concept of racing to BMW is relatively recent compared to a lot of the other factories. They've never really got involved in it too much, despite having, obviously a rich racing history and especially a four-wheel racing history, but more and more resources being put into it. Rumours of a MotoGP team coming for 2027, a serious factory effort in World Superbikes this year. And they're trying really hard with this endurance project. I think it still needs a bit of time, a bit of work, but it's getting there.
3 different manufacturer champions in the last 3 years, 4 in the last 5. Room for BMW in there, isn't there? No Ducati here this weekend. Well, we did have one in the experimental class, which is the 3rd class. There's 2 experimental bikes, but that Ducati got snapped in half at the in the gravel at Garage Bleu. Now that Ducati, that Panigale, was running on biofuel. That's why it was in the experimental class. But ERC not here this year. This is the 54 bike that we've seen returning down the hill, and crew members meet with rider and bike to try and get that machine back out onto the pit apron in some sort of working order.
And there we have it, fastest lap of the race,
The
Nicola
purple.
Canepa.
Just before we finish our commentary stint, you've got your purple lap time, and the smile on Simon's face says it all.
I'm considering volunteering to stay on a little bit longer, just so we can see that 14-second gap come down and see the yard bike return to podium contention again. But I mean, you know, how long is it since we were talking about that being 22 seconds? A lap and a half. We've got another 12 minutes here, and we might see a new podium before we leave. Yeah, you know, really impressive stuff from Canepa. He is absolutely the figurehead of that team at the minute. He is, you know, he's established himself as the team leader. He's the guy who set the pace for most of this race, and I'm not really surprised that we got some reports in pit lane that he was very unhappy with his teammates when he started this session, and then throwing away all the hard work that he's done, you know, so far in this race. Obviously, the other two, Marvin Fritz and Karl Hanneke, have done more than their fair share as well, but it's been Canepa that's been driving this thing forward for them.
And he's been the shining light and led the team by quite some margin, being the stalwart that you would expect someone of Nicolo Canepa's experience. 2016, 2017 EWC World Champion, and those sort of rumours about his fitness and that crash at Daytona a month ago that we heard so much
You just
of.
had an issue with the selector, and the yard is coming very fast. You're on the podium at the moment, but what's the plan for the rest of the race?
Yes, we have a little problem with quick shifter sensor. It broken, necessity to change the foot peg. About the yard, he push a lot to arrive and to pass the team. We make a maximum to stay on front and to have a gap between, but I think it's very difficult because
we see that for everybody conditions are very tricky, but Nicolo is showing that the lap time, he just make the lap record, so it's a little bit difficult for you.
I think it's very difficult. It's a crazy lap time. Yes.
Good luck for the rest. For the rest.
Just hearing there from the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar squad. Yeah, it's a crazy lap time from Nicolo Canepa. We've been singing his praises. Fastest lap of the race so far, just set by the Italian. We said we'd have a look now what Yacht have got up their sleeve in terms of pace and performance, and it's pretty formidable. I mean, he is running round almost 2 seconds quicker than anyone else. And that's any
impressive.
of the front runners. I mean, if you compare his time to some of the other runners, you know, he's like 4 or 5 seconds quicker than other bikes out on track now.
I mean, whenever you look further down the grid, he's doing 135s. There's people doing 151s. And then that really shows just how tricky these guys' job is, managing the traffic. You know, we're not saying that anyone doesn't deserve to be there, because they've all qualified, they've all made it to the grid, but it just makes and it's just another challenge for the fast guys to pick their way through, to predict what these guys are going to do as they catch them. It's a lot of work.
Race leader Dan Lidfoot aboard the Yoshimura Cert bike. Marcus Reiterberger in second place on that BMW Motorrad machine. And then it's Roman Ramos aboard the Kawasaki WeBike Trackstar bike. The Spaniard being hunted by Nicolo Canepa in fourth. Randy Krumanacher aboard the Tati Team Bettinger bike. There's another purple flashes up on the Sector 1 timing screen here for Nicolo Canepa.
He's disappointingly slow in that lap. Only a 136.1 compared to his 135.7 lap record from a few laps ago. But you know,
Well, he's
there's
2
no one else
seconds.
doing. There's no one else doing 1:37 laps at the minute.
2 seconds quicker than Randy Krummenacher through that first sector a second ago. There is Damien Saunier, the team boss at Yoshimura Sir, took over from the legendary Dominic Mayon a few years ago, and he brings a calmness and a professionalism.
He really
to that
does.
Team you need.
You can see in the garage that Damien he has just this ability to dial things down, to keep them under control, to keep everything smooth. And you know, whenever you've got someone like that around you, it's quite contagious. It really gets picked up by everyone else. It keeps everyone else very level-headed, keeps anyone from getting too excited, and you see that in everything that these guys do.
Well, thanks to everyone who's kept us company as the race leader comes in onto pit lane over the last few hours on X and Twitter. Lavoise, have I got that right? Made it from 4 a.m, woke up again at 5:30 a.m, so pretty much all the way through the night. Good to have you with us. Matthias says, good morning. Lee Spelzini, purple's my favourite colour. Well, it is Simon's as well.
It's certainly Niccolo Canapa's at the minute. And that gap, that lead that the number 11 bike has over them is down to only 6 seconds now.
And you can get in touch, Degmit and Tom Gaymore on X and Twitter. We'll be handing over soon the reins in the commentary box. I have to say, it's been a pretty eventful 3 hours, 4-hour stint. We've been very lucky as Dan Lidford gets off of his machine. Over 240 British Superbike starts, but nothing can prepare you for world endurance. Yes, he's been in and around these races before, but not at the sharp end, not under this pressure.
Clearly,
universal language for tucking the front there.
Yeah, clearly still struggling a bit with those conditions and the temperature out there. You know, Linfoot has been, he did a really good job in that stint. He was consistent. He managed the gap well back to the 37 bike, but he wasn't exactly, you know, he wasn't pushing it too hard. And whenever you see that feedback to the team about the conditions, you understand why.
Marcus Reiterberger has bought the BMW in. Perfect conditions here at Le Mans now.
So we just got a message flashed up there. That crash for the Bollinger team seems the number 22 bike was involved in it as well too, but the stewards have had a look at the incident and decided that no further actions needed. So there must have been a little bit of contact or something that helped the Bollinger Kawasaki find the gravel trap.
We're going to hear from Dan Linford now down in pit lane. I think he'll be with Xavier Simeon.
Dan, everyone keeps
It's
talking
Kaz.
about track conditions. Etienne said it was the hardest of his career, and Josh said he'd rather do a double stint in Suzuka. What are the conditions like now?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, that was pretty bad. Just understanding where the grip was, there seems to be some moisture on the track, losing the front in many places, losing the rear in many places, losing the rear off gas, just like riding on ice, riding on marbles. So obviously combine that with the position we're in, I just took the secure option and just rode around in a pace that I knew that I could keep going at without really risking too much or risking a crash. So not ideal. We lost some time to the BMW, but I brought it back in one piece and I've handed the bike over to my teammate, so I think that's the main thing.
That is the main thing. There's always so much drama in these 24-hour races. If I had spoken to you guys 8 hours ago, you were in a completely different position. So how has the strategy changed now going through it? I'm guessing trying to secure that top spot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the priority. The first thing is to make no mistake again and just keep our rhythm as best we can do. obviously we want the victory. If something happens and we are on the podium, then that's the result that we're given today, but we need to push for the victory.
Thank you so much and good luck.
Thank you.
Caroline de Moraes there in pit lane, working with Xavier Simeon, and what a great job both of those two have done over the 18 hours that we've had so far. Still 6 hours to go. Cranky's watching from Australia. Come on, Cert Suzuki. There is the Yoshimura Cert. We've just heard from Dan Livford, and the overriding message from all of the riders we've seen getting off the bikes is relief. Relief that they brought it back in one piece.
And while we've been hearing from Dan Linford, we've had a bit of a change. The yard bike is through into third place. They've done it. I think they've just taken third place off the number 11 bike and then dived into the pits. So Canop is off the bike and Marvin Fritz is back on it, and that has just rejigged the order a little bit and allowed the 11 to take the third place back again. But it shows that, you know, essentially they're quite comfortably closing down that gap now. They're you would imagine set to lock in the third place in a few laps, especially once number 11 comes in for their own pit stop and things reorder.
We're going to go down and hear from Nicolo Canepa now.
Nicolo, Italian style. Looks like you were not on the same track as the other. The fastest lap of the race, you were a little bit angry, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, not angry, but I want to catch the podium. I think we deserve to be in the top 3 at least. We did an amazing race, and so I say, okay, let's go. It's time, if not now, when, you know? But also, I was helped by the bike, because after the crash, I think there is something not straight, and the steering wheel was quite a turner on the right side. Probably it helps to turn on the right corners, so that's why I was going faster.
Well, now you are catching the Kawasaki. You are not so far with that stint. You showed to your teammate that it's possible to make that lap time. You think they will have more confidence after that?
Yeah, for sure. Also, I think the race is still long, so we don't need to push over the limit. I was feeling comfortable in this rhythm, but if they feel comfortable in 37, I think it's going to be enough anyway. So this is our target.
Perfect. Good luck for the rest of the race.
And Nicolo Canepa there just saying, not angry, but he's hungry for that podium. And that was, you know, we've talked about special stints. We talked about Nicolo Canepa leading that yacht squad. That was very, very special. I'm going to hand over now to Chris Zora. And we've got Chris McCarthy jumping in the booth as well for Simon Patterson. It's been a wonderful 3 hours. Thanks to everyone who stayed with us. Keep watching. Plenty more action to come here at Le Mans.
Well, thank you, Tom. This is Chris Soros signing back in for the next few hours at the Africana. 24 hours here, of course, at Le Mans as we go back to the pits. And as you can see, it's just a case with the Tecmas MRP BMW team of just getting as best they can, trying to get the machine back onto the track and being able to get it to the finish, to be classed as a finisher. Got to complete 75% of the race distance to be classed as a finisher. It's been quite a hectic few hours, and we'll have a catch-up of the race so far. So all those hours ago, lining up, of course, for the traditional Le Mans start. They sprint to the bikes. Yacht, of course, starting as the pre-event favourites. Fastest in the lead-up to the event. And it certainly turned into an early duel between those and the Yoshimura Cert Motul and the FCC TSR Honda team, of course, crashing out in the early stages. They are now up to 12th place, but an early retirement. Vitalis Racing dropping out in the early stages. This was one of the crucial parts of the early stages with the Suzuki going down. Traction control issue and a spectacular high side. Rider okay, losing a lot of time. And then the race rather unravelled for the Belgian KM99 Yamaha team. There was that spill earlier on, and they lost a lot of time in the pits overnight. Number 11, of course, WeBike Trickstar Kawasaki, still running well in the top 3. They've all had their various incidents and issues during the night. 2-1-2, of course, the Work Motors team having a very hefty tumble that brought out the safety car overnight, neutralising the race. And it was all settling down into a nice steady rhythm into the early hours, everyone just plugging their way through the night. And we always have the traditional sight, of course, the mechanics hard at work with the machines as well. Meanwhile, over in the Superstock class, National Motos Honda staying on the machine, as we saw, of course, the Honda No Limits crashing out of the event spectacularly. Rider was okay, but the bike certainly was not. And then going into the night, of course, the Yoshimura Cert Motul Suzuki team absolutely charging through the night as they fought their way back into the top 10, closing up on the leaders, as Kronberger, of course, had their issues during the night as well, the number 41. They were running strongly earlier on, and then the race turned on its head. Yamaha looking so good, went down big style on the penultimate corner. A lot of damage to the machine, so no option but to pit from that comfortable lead. And all that Carol Haneke could do was sit and watch as the race unravelled. A slow stop for BMW as well. They were unable to capitalise fully on the situational long service, and BMW in the hunt, of course, for their first ever victory at this event, and didn't quite go their way after a long stop. Yacht were back out onto the track, but the race, which for so long seemed to be going their way, they'd avoided incidents. Now they're playing catch-up, and the number 12, of course, charging through the night, leading the race overall in EWC, and the number 55, of course, in the Superstocks National Motos Honda, currently sitting in 6th overall, only 10 laps from the leader. So we'll have a look at the overall classification after 18 hours, and it's Yoshimura Cert Motul Suzuki in the lead. Bridgestone, of course, remain on top, just ahead of Dunlop, and the BMW Will Endurance team in second, WeBike Trickstar in third. Yamaha falling 5 laps to 4th position and playing catch-up in the final few hours, with, of course, National Motos Honda leading the Superstocks. 3 aren't doing well during the night, with Team Bolliger just on the edge of the top 10. FCC TS Honda France up to 12th position, 24 laps down on the leader, but quite some comeback after that spill very early in the race. TR27 AZ Moto, of course, the all-British squad, with Michael Dunlop in there as well, 22nd, with KM99, of course, one of the early front runners, really playing catch-up just on the edge of the top 20, many laps down. So realistically, that is damage limitation. And a bike that was parked during the night, of course, the 777 Urchik racing team suffering from electrical issues during the evening. The bike was cutting out, and opting, in the interest of safety, just to park that bike into the pits. And I think it's going to be a tall order for them to get the bike back going again. But good to see, of course, Gino Rea back in the thick of things, and on a bike again, as we look at the Motorbox Kramer Racing, the 65 machine, which is sitting in 11th position with Marco Fetz on the machine right now. And back to our leaders, number 55, National Motos Honda, well established French former winners, of course, and they're just ahead, of course, with the number 17 flying at 72 in there as well. Currently 32nd, 19th in the class, bike number 17, which currently has, I believe, Nicolas Turan on the bike at the moment, and there he is. The Superstock bikes, if you've just tuned in, very easily distinguishable by the red backgrounds with the white numbers, and the former leaders, of course, Yamaha, black backgrounds denoting the race class. Also the headlights, Superstocks with the yellows, and the EWC category with the whites. So for so long we were saying this was the runaway leaders, Yamaha, proudly displaying number 1 as they look to get back on top. Fastest lap of the race, though, on lap 6:28. So the Yamaha team very much playing catch-up, but they have set the fastest lap of the race overall, 1:35.971 last time out. They are 5 laps down on the leader, Greg Black, on the Yoshimura Motor machine. The Suzuki leading the way so far, but we have got 18 hours just completed, still a very long way to go in this race. And as we're looking, of course, into the overnight, anything can happen in the next few hours, and we're going to take a break in a few moments and pop down to the paddock.
Marcus, a lot of drama overnight. I know that you were probably sleeping, but there was an opportunity to take the full points at the 16-hour mark, but you guys came into the pits. It was just as the yacht had crashed, and then there was a possibility of going out first, but the pit stop took quite a long time, so you guys were second. Do you know what happened there?
Yes, I think we had a problem with the exhaust, and the crew cannot really fix it in the necessary time, so we cannot grab the point for first position. I think second position is still a very good position for us, but for sure we want to win. But as you see, a lot of crashes, a lot of problems, and we also have some problems with the bracket and the exhaust and some stuff. And I really struggled the first 3 stints. And then in the night I wake up, and now I feel really good. I think we can push for sure for the second, but we still don't give up to win this here.
Everyone keeps talking about how cold it is out there, but you're saying you're feeling good. Did you feel that the track temperature really is quite cold?
Yeah, it's unbelievable cold. I think even more cold than last year. I have a glove under my glove and a heat vest under the suit. It's super cold. And also the visor is frozen, and I really don't feel the fingers are braking, so I brake just like I feel. But the same for everybody, and for us it seems to be good. The Dunlops are working quite good in this condition. The last stint was my best, and I enjoy riding, even if it's cold, but it's like it is.
I love that. Okay, thanks for speaking to me. Good luck.
Thank you.
So that was Marcus Reiterberger, of course, telling us how the extreme cold conditions here at Le Mans, just a few degrees, 2-3 degrees overnight. It was very cold in the early hours of the morning, as you can see from the hardy spectators out on the course. As we look at the feature back to the watching machine, Gino Rea, of course, and of course one of the casualties overnight was the Team Etoile parking the bike, and the look on the face of the mechanics and the officials of the team says it all, because they were running so well overnight and potentially in with a shout at the podium. FCC looking happy as well. This is, of course, some of the emotion off the track as well. But Reiterberger, of course, ruining the missed opportunity with that long pit stop to potentially snatch the lead for BMW overnight. So if you're just joining us, I'm Chris Sora. Welcome to hour 18 of the 24 as we close in on the checkered flag, joined once again, of course, by Chris McCarthy, who's back with us, set up and ready to go. So when we left this race, Chris, it was settling down and looking quite orderly. Now we're back on the mic, it's all blown up.
Yeah, morning everyone, evening wherever you are watching from. Wow, what a race we've come back to. We have sadly taken a lot of victims in this race, haven't we? We had about 41 teams circulating the Bugatti circuit when we stepped away from this commentary box. As we look at the timing screen, 32 teams currently remain. Wojciech Racing Team 777, we know from updates from Gino Rea, it looks like they are in a bit of trouble themselves as well, and are just going to try and make it now to the line. And it seems we may not see a lot more of them in this race due to some mechanical issues that they are having as well. Hopefully 32 won't become 31. They're going to just try and step back from this race momentarily, shall we say, and just now try and make it to that checkered flag. Wow, we've certainly seen a few teams fall, quite literally, one of them being the Yacht Yamaha, our reigning world champions. They, of course, went down. They are still out there, but that lost them the lead of the race. And that has left the Yoshimura bike out there leading. They, of course, had a fall themselves earlier in the race. They've climbed the order to now lead this race and are being chased down by the BMW, looking for their first ever win in the 24-hour here at Le Mans since it began in 1978, looking to make some history, as are Yoshimura themselves, looking to put Suzuki out front in the manufacturer's race on 15 wins in total. Can they go and do it? Greg Black, the man who put that bike on the ground after a bit of a traction control issue, now leads the way for them. It's going to be a fascinating fight out front between those guys, and then we have the Kawasaki in third place as well. So great to see 3 different manufacturers at the front. It's what we like to see in endurance races like this. But yes, Chris, we certainly have had plenty of drama throughout the evening, bikes going down. And the main story of the race, for those of you who maybe weren't quite able to be with us throughout the evening, has been temperature. I think that's a good shot we're seeing from up here. You can see the sun isn't quite shining over the Bugatti circuit currently. There gives us a good picture of it. It's not the brightest of days around Le Mans currently. That meant that the temperature has been quite low around, and that's been very, very challenging for the riders. Speaking to Simon Patterson as we were doing our swap over, he was saying the riders reporting it's some of the hardest conditions they've ever had to face, and that is why we've seen the likes of Yamaha go down. It's been a real challenge, so I think whoever can step away from this, a winner, a podium finisher, a finisher, has had to work incredibly hard for it.
Very much so, Chris. It's been a recurring theme throughout the night, the difficulty with the cold temperatures, but riders coping quite well as we continue into the 18th hour of 24, still wide open. Number 11, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar machine, sitting on the same lap as the number 1, of course, the Yamaha team, fighting through the field. And as you can see, in the few of the hardier spectators remaining in the cold temperature, it's still just a few degrees above freezing. And like Chris was saying before, that really has been a talking point, a factor for the riders. Like Reiterberger was saying a few moments ago, it's the case of even the stronger visibility with the visors as such as well. But the race still wide open 18 hours in. And as we were saying, of course, it was all looking so orderly with the Yamaha team controlling the race at the front. But now we've got Marvin Fritz on the machine, and they are playing catch-up. Fastest lap of the race about 10 minutes ago, 1:35.791. And the Yamaha looking good, 18.16. Marvin Fritz going through the Dunlop Court to start another lap and into the chicane. So we return to the Yamaha team in 4th position, and as you can see on the lap charts, they really are setting the pace. 1:36.248 a few laps ago. About 12 laps ago, setting the fastest lap of the race, 1:35.791. So if you're just joining us, welcome to the 18th hour of 24 here at Le Mans. I'm Chris Saurer with Chris McCarthy, and just watching the progress of the Yamaha team. Well, they quite literally threw the lead away with the crash. It's understandable in the tough conditions, but the bike's back going, it's looking good, and they're really playing catch-up here.
They are. It gives us a fascinating battle now to watch. It gives us a chance to watch them pushing it all the way to the end. We almost see them in the position we saw Yoshimura in around 10 hours ago, I guess, 12 hours ago, when they found themselves in this very position. Last time we were in the booth, Chris, we were reporting the lap times of Yoshimura, the gaps that they were progressing on to the next bike up the road, and now we're going to be doing the same thing for the Yacht Yamaha team on that Yamaha bike. They are currently doing 1:35.9s they did last time. That's just 2/10 off their fastest lap of the race. That's 4 seconds faster than the Kawasaki up the road, and they are only 38 seconds, behind them. So they're not too far away from the podium positions here. We have a chase on. If you have just joined us for 3rd place, that's what we are following now. We can see the Yacht Yamaha, the reigning world champions in this Endurance World Championship. They have thrown away the lead, as Chris said, with a mistake throughout the very, very difficult conditions in the night, not due to rain, more due to temperature, how cold it's been out on the circuit. It's not just taken them as a prisoner, it's taken several, and now they are getting their head down quite literally and going after a podium place.
And interesting here to look at the next bike ahead of the number 1 is the race leader, of course, Yoshimura Motos Suzuki. So 1st and 4th together on track, but as you can see, 5 laps separating them. But certainly I think Marvin Fritz will know the bike that's in front of him, and this is a real psychological boost, I would say here.
Yeah,
if he can
I totally agree,
physically get past this number 12 on the track and pull a lap back, bring it back to 4 laps down, it'll just let the Suzuki team know, I think, if he can make this pass. I think we might be seeing a little bit of race action here, because if they can just make this pass on the track, it's just enough to let Suzuki know that they're still in this race. It's, of course, they are really playing catch-up. It's a long way for them to catch up 5 laps down. But if they can just pull that lap back, and it looks at the pace that Fritz is setting at the moment on the Yamaha, I think he'd be trying to line up the race leader for a pass. Greg Black, of course, piloting the number 12. Here they come through the Dunlop chicane, heading on down now to La Chapelle. So even though they're not racing for position here, I think we could be seeing a little bit of race action potentially.
If not, if you're new to Endurance World Championship, we're seeing our reigning world champions and our reigning vice champions together on the track here. Vice champions on board with, ahead of our reigning world champions, and that's a sight that is always enjoyable to see. The 2 best teams currently in the world in this championship, with 2 of the best riders in this paddock, right together on the circuit around the Bugatti circuit here, after they've been out there now for 18 hours and 20 minutes as teams. And that is fantastic to see. As you said, though, this is going to be a psychological thing if they can get back through. Yamaha in 4th, Yoshimura leading, 4 laps between them, and they'll just want to tick off one of those now as they come round the final corner onto the start-finish straight. They'll just want to blast past here.
There we are.
Oh, there they are.
A little cheeky look over the
Through you
shoulder.
go. I don't want you to overtake me. I want to let you through, I think that was.
I think there's a bit of mind games going on there. He wasn't going to defend that position too hard. He, like you say, I think Black just glanced over his shoulder and pretty much waved him by. So not giving Fritz the satisfaction, I think.
And also a case of, we're leading this race. We've had to work very hard to get back through. I'm not letting anything go wrong now. There. Sensible riding from Greg Black, just to let the Yamaha go through. They know that that bike is on an absolute charge to come through. Let's have a look at it once again. Would have heard them before they saw them, of course, and just waving them through.
Quite literally waving through as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I think the correct thing to do.
But Black now, of course, is just going to keep the Yamaha honest, I think. They were closing up a second a lap or so, but I think if Greg Black stays there, it'll be really good for the Yoshimura Motos Suzuki team, who are, of course, the leaders. Here you see on the graphic on the left-hand side, just to demonstrate the position on the track, as they try to close up on the 3rd position Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar machine, which now has Roman Ramos Alvaro on the machine. Just popping into the pits for a very orderly rider change a few moments ago was Sebastian Suchet in the 6th place bike, number 55, National Motos Honda, who continue to lead the Supersport class ahead of the number 41 Honda Kronberner RAC 41, who are keeping the pressure on that 6th position. Third in that very dramatic fight for the podium is number 36, the 3-art best of bike machine, with Christopher Kemmer, the Austrian rider, on the machine at the moment. For those of you looking for Chris Walker, of course, on the ADS 97 machine, bike number 97, the British team, they part the bike in the morning. Oh, Kawasaki, is that the Trickstar machine?
Someone pulling over there.
That looked like the Kawasaki WeBike.
Bike 11, it is. It is. That's third place. That is our third place bike going slowly down the hill. Good spot there, and they are hitting problems, and that would be good news for Yamaha if that's the case, because they were chasing them down. Yamaha was just 29 seconds behind them. That number 1 bike was only, and they've gone into third. That's a change of position. Third place has now changed. Oh no, the Kawasaki has hit problems, running in third place, and Kawasaki in big problems here down at turn 4. I don't think that bike does not seem to have gone down. It just seems to have come to a halt briefly, and now they're making their way back down. Let's have a look at the team watching on, and they are going to be getting prepared to see that bike come back through now. What a shame for Kawasaki. Here we can see them coming through the service roads.
That machine was sounding rough there for a moment, Chris, on the idle. And the other thing here, of course, Chris, he's not at the best part of the track to get back to the pits. So he had to abandon the lap effectively. And so drama in the race here is Yamaha back into third, but at the expense of Kawasaki WeBike Trackstar. And that machine, the ZX-10R, struggling to get its way back to the pits. And there is Ramos Alvaro nursing that Kawasaki back to the pits. The concerned faces of the mechanics in the pits here, Chris, I think say it all.
Yeah, and we've got one of the riders about to take over, which I think was Gregory LeBlanc, who is just wondering what he's about to jump onto here. So the Kawasaki, Roman Ramos Alvaro, just trying to get that back and using the service roads now, meaning that he's certainly in trouble.
This, I think here, Chris, could certainly benefit the 5th place team, the number 4, the Thai team Beringer Racing Honda, who've had by comparison to a lot of the leading group here, had a fairly steady race, sitting round about 5th or 6th throughout the entirety. They're 3 laps down on the Kawasaki, which is now going into the pits, and we could see them rewarded with another position, as that was number 99 just behind there, the KM99 machine being held up somewhat in the pits. And well, Alvaro looks frustrated with the machine, and who can blame him? Interestingly, KM90 straight into the garage. KM99 to 22nd, incidentally. So here we are, Chris. This is going to be quite some time, I think.
Let's have a look. Now, the reactions there from the team suggested that, well, they were not happy at all with what they had seen coming in there. Now, have we seen, has that bike gone down? We only saw it travelling very slowly. That's all we saw. We did not see exactly what's going on here.
As far as I can tell, Chris, I think it is just a mechanical issue here. They just went off to the escape road.
It was just travelling slowly down the escape road, wasn't it? It doesn't seem like it's gone down or anything like that. So it just seems a pure mechanical issue.
Before I could pick up, the bike didn't really sound all that healthy either. So straight onto the. Look at this though. The mechanics straight onto it there.
And this is after these mechanics have had, of course, all week with practice, qualifying, and now we're 18 hours and 26 minutes into this race, and very quickly at work. They know every minute counts. Currently 4th place.
That guy at the back's brave, handling that silencer without any gloves on. After 18 hours, here we go, the mechanics underneath the machine now, frantically stripping it down. Of course, that's the other thing as well, in an endurance race, these machines have to be fairly easy to work on as well. They've stripped it all down very quickly. And they're getting the motor out. Was that the clutch? Clutch cover possibly, or was the whole motor possibly coming out? I don't know at this stage. It's a early stages, as the team has now dropped to 4th position. Kawasaki WeBike Trackstar. We've had a good solid few hours, but as you can see for yourself, the machine in the pits, which of course elevates the number 1, Marvin Fritz, up to 3rd position. As they watch on, of course, the number 1, of course, now back into the podium position, but their positions have swapped really compared to the Suzuki team, who've been catching up all the way through the night, and Yamaha sitting pretty and controlling the race at the front, and 1 lap ahead of BMW now. They're back to the lead, of course, Suzuki.
Well, I always find fascinating in these moments here that we're watching on is just the communication between Kawasaki. You're not hearing huge amounts of it. It's just almost a silent communication. Everyone knows exactly their jobs and what they have to do. And this is a team that you can tell have done things like this so many times. It's almost like it's been rehearsed, isn't it? That they straight to work. Everyone,
no one's shouting or panicking.
Everyone very calm. It's just, let's get on with this. And we talked about this a little bit last night. We can hear the bikes going by every few seconds, but that's not. And with that can come a little bit of panic, given that you have just had you have just been a team that's in a podium position, but everyone just getting on with their jobs.
So that's the header pipe already off, coolant coming off as well. The stripping it down to the motor in only, well, less than 4 minutes. So, like you say, Chris, it's very well drilled here.
Yeah.
Getting down to the problem. I wonder if I mean, we can't really speculate until we get the definite answer from the team. I wonder if it could be some kind of electrical fault, possibly. If it's more of a mechanical issue. But very quick to bring it down to the engine.
I have to say that the team seemed to know exactly what as soon as that rolled in, it was the reaction told me they knew that it was going to be a big job straight away. And they are immediately at work.
You were right, Chris. That's Grégoire Leblanc there looking on. And the Frenchman is going to take to the bike very soon. Now we see on the track, we're going to see a change of position now as the number 4 goes over the line, and I believe they're now on the same lap.
They're getting closer. They're getting closer.
So there you see on the left-hand side of your screen, that's the Tati team Beringer Racing Honda.
Well, so they're now, what, they're now 4 minutes. Let's have a look. They're not far behind now, are they? They're going on to this
on the same lead lap as the same lap as the Kawasaki. I think they're both on 650 laps here.
So they're a lap away from a change, and so this is live. This is how their races are currently sitting live. Kawasaki in the pit lane. They're on the same lap, but as you can see, Kawasaki on the same lap sit in the garage, and on the same lap we see Tati Team Beringer heading down to garage there, just putting in, just turning their way through that double right-hander, and that is going to be a change of position incoming. And a wheelie there. They are being, no doubt, encouraged on from the pit wall.
Just coming through Shemi Arbos, the final third of the lap now, the number 4, piloted by the Swiss rider Randy Krummacher. And here he comes into the right-hand corner through the garage and up to complete the lap. So Tati Team Beringer Racing, the Honda, looking like he's going to move into 4th position as the Kawasaki sits in the pits. Round towards the final corner he goes, and a change of position on the track as Randy Krummacher over the line he goes, and the number 4 moving any moment now into 4th position. So change of position, 18.5 hours into the 24 here at Le Mans. So there you see on your graphic, number 4 is in 4th place now. So Randy Krummacher, they are about 4 laps down on the top 3. So unless any of the top 3 hit trouble, which is no guarantee, of course, it's been such a wide open race, it's going to be a tall order for the number 4 to break onto the podium, but they're hanging on in there, and well poised in case any of the others hit trouble, as they are lapped by the number 37, the BMW, which likewise is hanging on in there. Hasn't quite got the outright pace of the Suzuki, but seems to be a very malleable, very easy to ride machine. It's running well, coped well through the night as well, and throughout all of the issues at the front, that BMW, despite the slow stop, is hanging on in there. Not that far behind. It's got potentially a little bit better range than the Suzuki as well. So talking to early on the pit interview with Marcus Reiterberger, one of the pilots on the BMW, he was saying not overly confident about the victory as number 4 going into the pits right now. So I think this will be nothing more than a scheduled stop. We'll watch as Reiterberger brings the machine into the Krummencher brings the bike into the pit lane, and we'll see here, of course, Chris, the EWC pit stop. It's a well-drilled operation. I think, looking at the time, this should be, I believe, a scheduled stop.
Yeah, let's have a look at them coming in for a tyre change. Kawasaki just in the pit lane, and now they still have a bit of time over the rest of the field, but this is going to be real encouragement now as we see rider change going out onto the circuit in 4th place. That's going to be, you don't need more encouragement than that. You're in the prime position. Here we go, Kawasaki rolling back out on to the circuit. We just need some fuel in that machine now, and we are ready to go. So fuel going in the Kawasaki now, and then we'll be good to go. 9 minutes that pit stop was, and Kawasaki now are on their way back down. So this is going to be interesting to see what the gap is as Kawasaki make their way back down the pit lane to get back into this 24-hour race. As you can see, pictures are just coming to us now that Kawasaki are back out onto the circuit. 9-minute pit stop for them in total, but they have just been rolled back out into pit lane, and we now see them heading slowly back out onto the circuit. Gregory LeBlanc is on board the bike for them and is getting himself and the team back into this race. We have seen a pit stop in the meantime for Tati Team Beringer, who did just a little while ago take 4th place away from what was a stationary Kawasaki as they were in the pit lane performing that lengthy pit stop from what was seemingly a mechanical issue after they came to a brief halt down at La Chapelle, but after coming through the service roads and getting that bike back, a 9-minute pit stop has seen them drop from 3rd place. They were in the podium positions, Kawasaki. They now find themselves down in 5th place. They're going to have to work their way back through the order. So Yamaha have gone back up to back up a position into 3rd. We've got Tati Team Beringer in 4th, and Kawasaki are about to lap back from them now. Bike 9 sadly has retired from the race as well. We've taken another prisoner. That's the Tecmas BMW racing team. Now, we saw them in big dramas earlier in the race. Sadly, they've retired, and it looks like National Motos
they've
Honda,
jumped up to 5th place now.
Jumped up to 5th place overall. They are in the super stock class. They are leading that class. They were once winners of this event overall. Back in 2006, we've seen them winning in this class. They are hugely experienced. So they've gone up to 5th. What's their gap over the Kawasaki? It is 1 minute and 3 seconds. So 5th place for them overall. Wow, that's really good work from the National Motos Honda team. They were 6th place overall back in 2022, so and 4th overall in 2021. So they're no strangers from being at this this high up the order. It's certainly somewhere they know how to run up. So Kawasaki now back down in P6, but they'll be looking to work their way back through the field, and they still have some time to do that. Still plenty of time on the clock left in this race.
And the number 55 there, 5th place, Sebastian Suchet, overtaken there by the 12th position, number 5, the FCC TSR Honda, which falls another lap. And they've really been coming back very strongly throughout the night. They had a difficult start to the race, of course, dropping an awful lot of positions. Just looking further down the field, I believe the Wojcik Racing is still shown as being part of the race. So whether they're going to get that bike back into contention later on to try and just finish the race, we shall wait and see. But they haven't declared the bike out of the race as yet, but they're down in 31st position. Greg Black, of course, still leading on 663 laps now. As we look at the 5th place bike, still the number 55 leading the Superstock class, and about a minute ahead of the number 11 Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar. They sneaking through there into 5th somewhat as the Kawasaki was wheeled out of the pits. And the 6th place number 11 losing, I believe, 2 laps on the 4th place Tati team. Behringer Racing, the Honda, which has now moved into 4th position in what has been a good solid race for them so far. As of course the rider we're looking at the moment, who this team of course very experienced, and you would say the pre-event favourites in the Superstock class, but running 5th place so far. Very strong showing for them, and they might be relying on 1 or 2 other teams hitting trouble, but they could be on for potentially, of course, an overall podium. It's not beyond the realms here, I think.
They certainly could. Thank you to those of you, wherever you are tuning in from. Let us know your thoughts on the race so far, who you're cheering on for. And if you have any questions for us as well, you can get in touch with us on Twitter, X, myself, at Chris McCarthy 32, and Chris Sora, at Chris Sora. Let us know if you have any questions. Let us know who you're cheering on for. What do you think your thoughts are on the remainder of this race? Are Kawasaki going to get themselves back into those podium positions? Who is going to be the winners? Are we going to see Yoshimura perform this fantastic ride back through the field, or are BMW going to get their first ever win in this race? What about that Yamaha? Can we see them close in? Want to hear all your thoughts on the race, and where are you watching from as well? Let us know what you think. If you want any updates on teams specifically, give them to us, and we will let you know on how those teams are doing in total. Speaking of, we did mention the Tekmas team are out. Let's quickly bring you up to speed on who they join as out of the race. Number 9 become the latest team out. Wojcik Racing Team 777 are stationary and have been for a while, but out of the race so far we have the 53 Mano Competition out. 97, sadly, British fans out there, ADSS 97 dropped out of the race in the early hours. A real shame for the British team. They had problems in the early hours of the race. It was going really well for them, but sadly they hit problems and they are out as well. The number 25 Team 12, we saw them going really well. They were battling for the podium in the Superstock class, but the all-Japanese rider lineup are out of the race. Likewise, speaking of podium positions, 119 Team Slider Endurance, they were 3rd place in Superstock. They're out of the race as well. 14 out. Also, Mako Racing team. We also have 116 joining them. Kim Tire Full Gas, the number 30. Likewise, Team GT Endurance. 44, the No Limits, Honda No Limits had a real big crash coming down to Les Muses. Alexis Masbou on the bike when that happened. 15. The Aprilia Le Mans team are out as well. The 3 Team Rosso Bordeaux, the experimental Ducati, Pit Lane Endurance, likewise in Work Motors Events, Uniserve as well, the number 82, Team Racing 85, and then we really get back to the early stages. Team 33, Louis April, and then the first team, one of the first teams to retire, Honda Viltas Racing were the first team. We lost just 61 laps into this race. We are currently 666 laps in now to this race, as we will watch pictures of Kawasaki turning their way now up to Garage Vert.
charging and trying to close up with Sebastian Suchet there. LeBlanc back on the pace now, and that Kawasaki running very nicely. So they've got a bit of catching up to do here, but still a long way to go in this race. Looking a bit further down the field, of course, the Team Rossa Bordeaux, the Ducati, out of the race overnight, which means we've got just one of the experimental bikes left in the race, the Metis number 45. And that's sitting nicely in 17th place right now. And looking a little bit further down the field, of course, for those of you looking out for Michael Dunlop, he is out onto the track now and 21st. So as we watch the number 11, the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar machine moving out to complete a lap number 655. We'll keep an eye out for the number 27 of Michael Dunlop, who pitted, the team pitting just recently, and Dunlop taking to the track right now. So I think he's about halfway around the lap right now, sitting in 21st position, sandwiched behind the 34 Milan Merkelbach, riding on the JMA Racing action bike Suzuki, as we begin to make our way towards the conclusion of the 19th hour. And you can see the race finally poised right here with the number 12 leading the way, the Yoshimura Motos Suzuki. But as you can see, both leaders, after approaching 19 hours, on the same lap right now, courtesy, of course, of those incidents in the early hours of the morning. The leaders of the race, who were controlling the race at the front, of course, were Yamaha. But as you can see, they are 4 laps down right now, and the pace at the moment settling into around 1:37 as we focus on the 6th place Gregory LeBlanc on the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar. There they are watching from the pits. Lengthy pit stop around about 10-15 minutes ago, which has dropped them way down to 6th position, but by no means out of contention, sitting in 6th position just behind this guy, of course, Sebastian Suchet, who quite comfortably at the moment is leading the Superstock, just keeping the bike out of trouble, keeping it nice and smooth out there, and looking good in that 5th position.
Looking very, very good in that 5th position. They are having a superb race so far. National Motos Honda. It's how they do this every single year, isn't it? They're just so consistent. All right, 50 seconds, the gap to Kawasaki. Let's get an update on times there. 1:37, so it's about a rate of 2 or 3 seconds a lap. So we're seeing that come down. We're seeing that gap come down quite quickly, but different classes, so National Motos Honda will not be concerned at that at all. We must give more credit to RAC 41, who are there in P7 overall.
That's another team there, Chris, I think, who've had a rather, for want of a better phrase, unremarkable race. They've stayed out of any major trouble and just picking their way into the top 10 as well, so very well for them so far.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic how well they've done in this race. They are, given they were 5th in the World Cup standings last year, they've done a really, really good job. Their best ever result at the 24-hour here at Le Mans is 7th, and they did that back in 2009.
So they're fighting back quite nicely
so
here, aren't they?
They are on for what would be a match of their best ever result in this event. So I think that, you know, that's a really, really good result. Here we can see National Motos Honda, as I've mentioned a couple of times now. They were the 2006 winners here. They runners-up in the Superstock class last year, and they've been in this Endurance World Championship since the 70s. Their first podium coming in the early 90s, 1992, and they've been a part of the Endurance World Championship furniture longer than most of the teams around this paddock now. They really are the Endurance World Championship, huge part of it. Always great to have them around, and Superstock Wouldn't quite be the same without them.
For those you're looking for Dunlop, there he is onto our screens. There you can see 10th in class. We should be seeing him any moment now, Chris, heading back towards the start-finish line to start another lap.
Yeah, good spot. There he is, Michael Dunlop. How great it is to see him out there. Here he makes his way down in towards Dunlop curve.
Aptly named.
And into the Dunlop chicane. Michael Dunlop tipping his way into that. Nothing will faze him on this Bugatti circuit, and I don't imagine at any stage he's going to be backing off at all.
Yeah, he's making a good pace out there. 140, 141 sort of area at the moment. He's got the number 41 behind him, Jesko Raffin. Former Moto 2 rider, of course, and Raffin just about to lap Dunlop, it appears. There he goes. So long-time Moto 2 rider Raffin, the Swiss rider. Dunlop just has a quick glance and sees him coming through, concedes the line to the number 41. Not too often that we see Dunlop on the short circuit, so to speak, more of a road racer. The likes of the Isle of Man, Northwest, the Irish road races. So different environment for Dunlop here, but running very well in the midfield so far. Speaking of Dunlop, the tyres, of course, you'll see by the stickers and on the graphics on the screen a few moments ago, all of the super stocks running the Dunlop compounds out there as well. It's a it is a spec class in that sense with the tyres. Dunlop, one of the series partners of the Endurance World Championship, and they all run on the Dunlops. They haven't had to use the wet tyres, of course, but there are different medium and hard compounds on there. There is the potential, of course, for the super softs as well.
Yeah.
And we'll see, no real indication at the moment as to what they're running, but I think that we could well be looking towards the softer compounds in the cool weather. There is just the fill-in, of course, on Michael Dunlop, 25-time Isle of Man TT winner, just one behind his uncle Joey Dunlop, of course, the late Joey Dunlop, Isle of Man TT legend. Like we were saying, Chris, of course, Dunlop very much a road racer, but he has made a solitary appearance here at the 24 Hours in the past, and at the moment it's going a little bit better for him as we cue to the Suzukis, which I think are making a rider change.
Great to see Michael Dunlop out there. For those of you fans of him, there he is out on circuit now. 21st place for that team so far. They're number 27 TRT. They're running along smartly in this race so far, just trying to work their way through the order in the Superstock class. I'd say they're sitting just outside the top 10, but this has been a great performance from them overall, and Michael Dunlop will be enjoying being back out there. This, of course, he takes on some big challenges in his career and has been hugely successful on it, but I don't think there's anything quite like taking on the 24-hour race here at Le Mans. It's its own entity. It's just more the physical and mental challenges of it, particularly when you get to this stage of the race. You're so close to that finish, but also so far as well. But Michael Dunlop knows how to take on challenges and be hugely successful, and it's so great to see him out there, and I really do hope he's here to stay in a race like this. Here he comes up to Dunlop curve, and the pictures of him circulating round is really fabulous to see for any motorsport fan.
I'd perhaps suggest here, Chris, that for a TT racer, it's endurance racing isn't a bad crossover really, because we've heard TT riders in the past saying you're in essence riding at 90%. That's not to say they're riding slower, of course, but it's you're almost riding in the long game. Of course, the TT can't, well, you do attack every corner, but you're almost holding back ever so slightly, just keeping the bike going, which is qualities I think could carry itself over towards endurance racing quite well. So Dunlop certainly settling in quite nicely as the race leaders bring the machine into the pits for the scheduled tyre and fuel stop rider change as well. You'll see, of course, the quick release front and rear wheels. They even colour coordinate which way around the wheels go in on that team, just to make things nice and easy. After 18, nearly 19 hours of racing, it sounds simple, but so easy to make a mistake in the pits, but quick as a flash, they are straight back out onto the track. Nothing more than a routine stop, and I think that's Etienne Masson taking to the machine now as Black makes his way back to the pits, and they look satisfied with that one. As the race leaders Black into the pits now, and looks like the number 12 may possibly, I don't think they will lose the lead. It's going to be tight, but here they come back out onto the circuit now. So Etienne Masson, the Boulder winner from last year, back onto the pack. So Suzuki continuing to lead the way now. BMW closing up on the pit stops, and as we approach 19 hours, the 24-hour race still wide open, and Masson back onto the circuit. Let's have a look at the Suzuki race so far. It's been an interesting time for the race leaders, the Yoshimura Moto and BMW right on cue, pretty much on the same lap into the pits. So whether that's tactical, I don't know, but they're opting to pit at the same time as Suzuki now. Depending on how quick Masson gets round, I don't think they will gain a lap on BMW. They should get the bike out, as looks like Gintoli's taking to the track now, number 37, the French veteran rider. I won't mind me saying that, but they should, I think, stay on the lead lap here, Chris. BMW looking strong still in that second place.
Yeah, do not count them out. Do not count them out. Here they come. Sylvain down pit lane.
I think Yamaha are coming in as well, Chris.
Yep, all three roughly on a similar strategy in terms of pit stop, all in unison now, I'd say. And we'll see how their lap times start to fall now. Nice to see the BMW inside of the BMW garage. Great stint for them. Let's see if we can go and repeat another. Very positive energy within that team, so there should be. It's they've done a very good job to keep themselves within that top three. There's been a few bumps along the road, but overall they've apart from that one fall that they had, they've been very consistent all the way through. They have been leapfrogged slightly by the number 12, this Suzuki, but other than that, they have been very much in the fight, and it would be great points on the board if they can keep themselves into second place. Here we see Yoshimura, Etienne Masson coming down towards the chicane. Let's go down
again,
and
a constant pace. And also you were playing a little bit with the Yamaha yacht with Marine Fritz on board. Is the condition a little bit better than this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I must say this morning was a bit scary. I was in the stint about 5 o'clock, and there was so many crashes. Fingers were freezing cold. It was going quite bad out there. But actually, we went back out now. The sun has come out, and happy to see that Marvin was behind me, so I let him through. I thought it could help me to get a good pace, and he was fast out there, he was pushing, so it was good for me to pull away from the BMW or keep the constant gap.
The gap with the BMW is not so big. You will still continue pushing, or you will try to control the race?
Well, we're just trying to control our split to them, not push too hard, not make a mistake, but just keep them in distance.
Perfect. Good luck.
Good to hear from Greg Black. He's put in a really good stint for the team there. Pictures of Greg Black coming through the chicane. Fabulous to see. Great to have your company as we approach 19 hours complete in the 24-hour race in Le Mans. The Suzuki, Yoshimura leading the way ahead of BMW. Yamaha now in third. If you have just joined us, rejoined us in recent minutes, we had a change for third. Kawasaki hitting mechanical problems. They've been through pit road, a 9-minute stop for them, and now they have dropped back down to 6, and that's put this Yamaha on the number 1 back into third. And we saw those two right together just a little while ago, and once again we have Yamaha, our reigning world champions and reigning vice world champions, right together on circuit again. Here they are. We can see them together. This time they have swapped positions. Last time around it was the Yamaha passing Yoshimura. It seems it might be the other way this time. Might be Yoshimura trying to chase down Yamaha, but Yamaha there ahead of Yoshimura, and we hit a little bit of traffic there as we blast off into the distance. Fourth place is Tati Team Behringer. National Motos Honda are our lead super stock bike. We can see the Suzuki just heading its way up the hill. Michael Dunlop fans, he is out there on the bike in 21st place. We had some pictures of him coming to us just a short while ago for the TRT. And we are into the morning now, into day 2 of this race. Great to see as we watch pictures of, as I mentioned, in this Endurance World Championship, we begin a new season of it, the first of 4 rounds. And we have our reigning world champions and reigning vice world champions coming together. Well, Wojciech Racing Team 777 are currently in the pits. Let's go down and hear from Gina Rea, who's part of that team.
Well, Gina, I want to talk about how you found this first race back, and then I also want to talk about the bike.
Yeah, personally, surreal. It still doesn't feel real that I'm here racing. It feels like yesterday that I was here last year doing the parade lap. And when I did the parade lap, I was thinking, I want to be back racing here one day. And now the day is here. We've done the race, 16 hours of it. Unfortunately, we had a bike problem. Unfortunately, it was cutting out when I was riding. And like when I was in 5th gear, 6th gear, it would just completely stop. And it was too dangerous to continue riding because after the problems we was back in, I think, 35th position, and you don't score points there, so it wasn't worth taking the risk. So we've parked the bike at the moment. It's very unfortunate, but I'm also happy that I've returned to racing at a good level. I showed that I was still competitive, and yeah, it's the start of the next chapter.
Not just any race, you've done 16 hours and you've gone from the track conditions that everyone's been talking about has been so difficult, from day to night, from night to day. How have you found doing that part of the race?
The Endurance World Championship is always an extremely, extremely difficult place to be, and I'm happy with how it's gone, how I've coped with it. But yeah, it's been a bit of a shock to the system because even I said to you just now, it wasn't just me that's complaining about the cold. When it's 2 degrees, there's not much grip out there, and I thought, it was just a personal problem with the grip. So, yeah, it's interesting to know that other people are having similar issues. Yeah, you have to just adapt. You have to adapt to the conditions and try to get the best of the situation you're in.
You're so resilient. I can't believe that you're back here. I can't believe you've done as well as you have. What were the objectives that you'd set yourself at the start, and now knowing that you've raced, unfortunately, yeah, the bike's retired and it's out, but looking at how you've done, have you managed to surprise yourself?
Yes, definitely. I didn't know. I'm always confident in myself, confident in my abilities. But when you're so long away from racing after an accident like I've had, you don't know if you're going to perform. You know you've got the potential, you've got the idea, but whether you're going to do it or not, you don't know. So to do the lap times I did, the pace that I did, and also the consistency that I did it, still able to do it run after run, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. It's part of the progress, it's part of the rehabilitation, really. And yeah, a bit surprising because I didn't know. I knew I could do it, but I didn't know if I was going to be able to. So, yeah, it's nice to fulfil that ambition.
Well, we're all so happy to have been able to welcome you back properly to competitive racing, and we're all so proud of you. So well done. It's just onwards and upwards from here.
Yeah, thank you very much. A big thank you to everyone watching, of course. Thanks for the support, and to Wojciech Racing Honda team.
Thank you.
So that's Gina Rea giving us a thumbs up, saying, of course, that he's just been delighted to get it over the line and get back racing again. It's a very competitive level here at Le Mans. Of course, it's been a long road back to recovery for the former Superstock 600 champion. Back in 2009, Ria suffering a practice accident with 22 Suzuka, 8 hours, and you may remember, of course, he was left in a coma after that, and there's been a very long comeback. He was saying really that it almost feels surreal to be back out racing again, and being able to compete at, not just compete, but 16 hours of Le Mans. It's great to be back, and pleased with his progress so far. It's a chapter completed. He's got back onto the track and racing again. And of course, the disappointment that the bike has had to be parked for the time being, electrical problems, and they really did drop down the reckoning, of course. So not really a factor in terms of gathering points, deciding it was safer to park the machine. The way Gino's talking there, it feels like they're a retirement. They are still classed as being in the race, but I think it's going to be debatable whether we see that Wojcik bike back out on the track again. But Ria back on track and looking good at a good competitive level. So certainly great to see him back, Chris.
I think this has been a big moment for him to just get back out there, and we are all so proud of Gino Ria to have been back racing a motorcycle. He's gone through such a journey to do it, and to see him back out there is a huge achievement. So congratulations to him, and I'm sure he is here to stay, and this is just a massive step. And the emotional pictures of him when he came back into the garage yesterday, the fact we were here when that happened in the commentary boxes, was so good to witness, and I'm sure a memory for him that he will treasure. And we must say another big congratulations to him. He became part of our commentary team for a brief while he was going through his rehabilitation and his recovery. We hope they get back out there, but for now we watch FCC Honda, who are also on a recovery, back through the order. This has been the story of that FCC Honda team. Down they went. They were one of the first big teams to go in the early hours of the race, and ever since then it has been fighting back through the order. They dropped right down the standings, and then once again down they went. Another tumble, this time a little bit more significant was the damage on the bike, and it had to be pushed back. 2 flat tires there were on that bike. There you can see it's highlighted as it was being pushed back by the team. That left them right down the order, and the team just asking for the garage to be cleared, the entrance to be cleared, and the team went straight to work on it. And as we hit the night, they went to work, did the riders, to get themselves back up the order. And as we came into morning here at Le Mans, FCC Honda found themselves clawing at a top 10 finish, believe it or not. Alan Tescher now jumps on the bike. They are in 12th place for a team that had once 2 flat tires and pushing themselves towards their own garage. I don't think they would have ever dreamt of being anywhere near the top 10. Let's remind you of that classification overall. Yoshimura leading the way after they were once down nearly out of the top 20. It's been a remarkable recovery. They're leading BMW and Yamaha. National Motos Honda P5 overall. Leading Superstock RAC P7 overall. We've got 3 Superstocks in the top 10. They're all doing a superb job to be up there overall. And then that FCC Honda recovery, we'll keep an eye on that. Metis, big shout out to them, 18th. That's I think a really superb display from them in the experimental class. KM99, they are up in the top 20, and TRT with Michael Dunlop aboard have just gone into 20th place. And then we get down to the recoveries here. Wojcik Racing Team stationary in pit lane. It looks like they could become a retirement. very soon. And then the retirements after that, let's go through them. Currently 31 bikes classified as in the race, and then we come to the bikes that are classified out of the race. Techmas BMW, then we have the 53 Mano competition. ADSS, sadly the British lineup out. 25 also out of the race. Team of 12. We also have Slider Endurance out. 14 sadly. Macca Racing Team 116 as well, which is King Tyre full gas. Team GT Insurance as well. The 44 is out of the race as well. Honda No Limits. 15 Aprilia Le Mans also out of the race. The Team Rosso Bordeaux, the Ducati, Pit Lane Endurance, Verk Motors Events, Uniserve, Team Racing 85, Team 33 Louis April, and Honda Viltas Racing. Chris Sora.
And as we look at the on-track action here, the graphic will demonstrate to you that these two front-running bikes are not racing for position right now. The bike in front there, the number 1, the Yamaha, 5 laps adrift of the number 12, Etienne Masson, on the Yoshimura Certain Motul Suzuki machine. And there they are, both together on track. And of course, now with Suzuki fighting through the night and having the upper hand here, they can afford just to sit on the back wheel or canister on the Yamaha racing machine. 5 laps separating these bikes, who are fairly similar on pace, both lapping in the 1:36 region. And fastest lap of the race, of course, going to the Yamaha team around about 50 laps ago. So they are pushing. They are playing catch up now after a commanding lead. Just going around the back of the circuit, back towards the final 2 corners. Now, actually going around the back of the international karting venue, which also does hold a 24-hour motorcycle race of its own. I've seen it in person. It's yes, not quite to the level of this, but it's a French organisation. It's a bit more for the smaller machines. They seem to cope quite well on the karting track, up to 125cc. Maybe not going to the pace of these EWC machines, but certainly with the same degree of enthusiasm.
If you're into your motorcycle racing, it's something worth looking into, isn't it? If you want to get into doing it yourself, it's entry-level stuff, isn't it, that you can have. It's worth looking into, and it's something you can say. I race around Le Mans. I know it's something from doing other disciplines here on other circuits at Le Mans that people love to say, I've gone to Le Mans and done a 24-hour race. It's something you can say you've done. That's it, yeah. On a different circuit, isn't it?
That's the there's 2 karting tracks here. The international venue we're just talking about, where the motorcycle race takes place next to the Bugatti circuit that we're on right now. There's also the circuit Alain Prost, which is next door. It's a former karting World Cup venue, and they also have a more like a pro kart, the twin engine kart 24-hour race there. So it really is a great complex here at Le Mans. The famous old Circuit de la Sarthe, where the not only the Le Mans 24-hour takes place in June, but the Le Mans Classic nowadays. And if ever in the area, I would fully recommend visiting the museum, which is situated just behind the Dunlop curve.
Yes.
A real treasure trove of motorcycle and four-wheeled artifacts and history over the years. If you're ever in this part of France, it really is well worth paying a visit.
Let's get to some questions, shall we? We've had some coming in. Chris Stevens, thank you for your question or your tweet. You can get in touch with me and Chris at Chris McCarthy32 on Twitter and at Chris Sora. Chris Stevens just highlighting National Motos P5 as a right result for a stocker. It is, Chris. I'll tell you what, it almost doesn't come as a surprise to us in a way. We might not highlight it enough because they just seem to do it every year. But you're right. It's right to highlight it because P5 overall is hugely impressive, and we must keep remembering they're in the super stock class. They got their first podium here in 1992. They won this overall in 2006, but they just seem to always be knocking on the door of an overall podium. Could they get an overall podium, Chris Sora?
Well,
you never know. You never know. But Chris Stevens, thank you for highlighting that for us. And let's of course remember that RAC 41 are in P7. That would match their best result ever in this race. Can you guys confirm which bits of the engine cannot be changed? He also asks as well. Just crankcase? Well, I'll tell you what, Chris, I'm going to leave that to Dave Goddard and Ben Rumbold, who are next in for us. Ben is our resident, one of our resident commentators in the Endurance World Championship. He would love to pick that one up for you.
Fairly sure
as well.
I think you're about right there with the crankcase. There is sort of a limit on how much you can change, but I think we'll leave Ben to confirm that one.
Yeah, let's.
It was interesting to see, of course, the number 5 earlier sustain quite a bit of damage. Joshua Hook, of course, the unfortunate rider who went off onto the gravel. There is a limit, isn't there, to how much you can actually replace before it's, to paraphrase, like Trigger's broom, isn't it? There's only so much of the bike you can replace before it ceases being the same bike, really. There's the number 41 we were just talking about with the Wayne Tessels on the machine now, the chrome burner RSC 41 Honda, who, of course, are on course to match their best ever position. The number 1 goes down the inside. Nicolo Canepa still there in 3rd place, 5 laps down on the machine that's just behind him. Etienne Masson, the race leader, just sitting behind the number 41.
Well, we've also got another one here from Bob Wilshire, tuning in from Northern Ireland, Bangor. Suzuki fan, Chris, so enjoying it so far. Asking, is Nick Green from Oxfordshire still awake and enjoying the commentary so far? Well, it's going well so far, Bob. Suzuki currently having a fantastic race. Will that continue? Let's find out as they go side by side almost with Yamaha. And there we see Yamaha tipping their way through. Suzuki, who are leading the way in this race, Chris. It's a case now of can they go on and win this race, but fantastic pictures being delivered to us.
Look at this on the outside there, side by side past the back mark there. That was number 22, Sofiane Louila, 28th position on the Team 202 machine, lapping that machine, and they are, I wouldn't say racing here, but they're giving it a go here. Let's have a look at the lap times when they cross. Look at the pace these two are running as they go through 1st and 3rd, and of course the 3rd place Yamaha chasing 4 or 5 laps down, of course, both lapping in the 138, 139 region. BMW sandwich in the middle, 1 lap, 1.5 down on the leader. Here we see some on-track action then between 2 of the main protagonists. Yamaha ahead on the camera, but of course 3rd on the track because the early morning spill means they are down 5 laps adrift. Really having to play catch-up here, but setting some good pace out there. And this is the team that are in the hot seat at the moment. Number 12, Yoshimura Moto Suzuki, piloted at the moment by Etienne Masson. 2 very strong teams, very strong riders. Suzuki on top at the moment, and having the luxury here of being able to control the race 5 laps ahead of the Yamaha, just over a lap ahead of the BMW. But as we've seen, of course, Chris, so easily a 24-hour race can be turned on its head.
Yeah, now FCC Honda, Chris, have just made a place. They're now in P11. And also, look at that gap between Kawasaki and National Motos Honda. 10 seconds. And they are lapping about a second a lap faster. We're watching National Motos Honda about to pit, I believe. There they are, the stocker, the lead stocker. So we're about to see a change for 5th.
We're going to see here again, Chris, one of the key differences, not only with the mechanical differences, but also with the pit stops, a little bit more complicated, of course, with the wheel assembly.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Well, let's see them come into the pits, Chris, and then we'll let you talk us through it. Here they come into pit lane. National Motos Honda, your lead super stock, is coming in, and it's just performing these pit stops now without any dramas. In they come into the pit lane. National Motos Honda bringing them down into the pit lane.
So here we go with the 5th place National Motos Honda into the pits for a scheduled tyre refuel and rider change. They will pretty much guaranteed now to lose that 5th position in the pits to the number 11, the Kawasaki WeBike Trick Start machine, which is going to move up a position, but only to be expected, of course, with the rider change. There is the number 11, which should be on its way back into 5th position, right on cue. So National Motos Honda losing a position. As you can see here, the regulations, of course, with the homologation of the machinery The pit stops just that bit slower for the super stocks due to the wheel assembly there. It's a lot slower, a lot more complicated. This is based on the production machinery. But there we go, replace the fuel cap, and taking his way out onto the circuit now is the Red Rider, number 55. The National Motos Honda, that'll be Guignon Raymond taking to the track. I say Red Rider, if you're new to this, look at the riders' armbands. It's a similar principle almost to Speedway, where we see the riders with the coloured caps. In endurance racing, they have the armbands. Each team has, some riders having 4, others 3. There's a blue rider, yellow rider, red rider, or green. That's blue, which of course is the rider who's just stepped from the machine, Sebastian Suchet. So fairly easy to distinguish between the riders on each team as they go around with those very distinctive armbands, and it's always a quick and easy way just to determine who is out onto the track. So there is a change in position here. Gregory LeBlanc, number 11, on the Kawasaki WeBike Trickstar. They had their troubles around about an hour ago, I think it was, Chris, now, wasn't it? They were in the pits quite some time with mechanical issues, but fighting back strong, losing that podium position. But let's have a look. They're about 11 laps down right now. I think they're still very much in contention here.
Yeah, but they were about 10 seconds back from that National Motos Honda, who are already in the way to pit lane, and that has now been a position change. There also has been a change a little bit further back as well. We've been monitoring the process of the progress, sorry, of FCC Honda, who are now up to P11. They have just gone past the number 65 Motobox Kramer Racing bike, so they do keep progressing up the field. They're now 57 seconds back from their next target, which is the 3-art best of bike, and they're lapping 5 seconds a lap faster. So FCC Honda is a top 10 on the cards, absolutely. It's how far up the top 10 they can get is the question now for them, given, if you didn't see the pictures just a short while ago when we did a bit of a summary of the story of their race so far, they've been down twice in this race, and one of those moments we saw they had 2 flat tyres. Here is the Kawasaki, giving us some great slow-mo footage there. Big wheelie coming out down the straight there. Love that from Kawasaki.
A good wheelie, I'll say there, Chris. Very impressive.
Yeah,
it's 19 hours into this race now, and one thing I always think with the Bugatti circuit is there's no real respite here. It's almost like a Donington Park in that sense. It's like one big corner. There's no real areas on the lap where you can have a bit of a respite. It's a long sweeping. There we see number 55 back out on the circuit. It's a nice sweeping course. It's various different corners, but not much straights and not all that many respite areas out on the track as well. So demanding for the riders in these latter stages.
We've got some more tweets coming in. Thank you for those of you getting in touch. You can get in touch with myself at Chris McCarthy 32 and at Chris Sora as well on Twitter. Use the hashtag 24HMotos as well. We're going to answer some more questions in just a sec. First of all, we're going to go and hear from Sebastian Suchet, who's part of this National Motos Honda team.
Sebastian, I know that we spoke before your stint and you talked about how cold your hands were in the track conditions. So now, after the second one, talk to me about how the conditions may have changed.
Yeah, now it's a little bit more hot, but only 2 degrees more. It's not very hot, but it's better for ride. The bike, it's okay. The track is a little bit more hot, so it's better for ride.
It's slowly getting better. Now, I know that you guys were in 5th for a short amount of time, but what is the objective? It might not be the placement and it might be your actual stock category.
Yeah, only stock category is a scratch for me. It's not my objective. There's just one objective, finish the race. Finish the race in first position is perfect. In second, it's okay, but we don't push for the moment. The track is cold, so it's a little bit dangerous. And yeah, the scratch for me is not important.
Okay, thank you. Good luck.
Great to hear from Sebastian Suchet there. Well, he mentioned about track conditions there, Chris. That's what took down Yamaha. And that's why they are not pushing, because Yamaha was pushing. Kara Haneker dropped the bike when that happened. And
I think this cuts back to what we were saying earlier about, in some aspects, being a little bit like road racing here, in that when you say you're riding at 85%, you're not obviously taking it easy, but you're just leaving that little bit of a cushion because there's no margin for error whatsoever. Of course, this is a short circuit, so you haven't got the risk of, you know, the inherent dangers of a road track, for example. But with the race being so competitive, there's absolutely no margin on a competitive level for error here. So you just got to kind of keep that pace and not push the limit too much.
And Simon Patterson was telling me when he was stepping out the commentary box to complete his 24-hour of Le Mans, and well done to him for joining us to the team for the first time. I hope he comes back and joins us again. But he was saying the riders reporting to him it was some of the hardest conditions they've ever had to tackle. Bryn Fitton getting in touch. Thank you very much for getting in touch on Twitter, saying, how long before a stock bike wins a 24, Chris? It will happen, he reckons. Look how many choose a stocker at the TT. What do you think to that?
I wouldn't be surprised if just that.
And these guys would agree with that. I'm sure they'd absolutely love to.
Of course, the bike is an obvious disadvantage, but they can get them fairly close to the EWC machines, close enough, I think, to be able to capitalise. So I would agree there. They're not a million miles away from an overall victory. I think any kind of issues with the leading, maybe for example, like a weekend like today, where you've got a difficult track, where the leading guys can potentially throw it down the road or hit mechanical issues. I would say some of these super stockers that we're looking at now, who've been riding superbly, it's been very competitive at times. We're looking at the junior Team Le Mans Suzuki machine there. These super stockers maintaining a good pace, and they're not a million miles away from the front runners here. So yeah, I would agree, certainly very much in contention for the overall honours as the season goes on.
Yeah, great to hear. Well, approaching 19.5 hours into the race. And we see the 83 bike here, just running in 15th place so far. And this is our classification in super stock class. It's still all to play for, up and down the order, fairly congested in the midfield. Plenty at stake, and as our leaders were just saying to us, Sebastian Suchet just saying it's just about ticking off those laps for them now. As for the progress out front, there's definitely going to be more pushing going on from the likes of Yamaha, who will want to try and catch. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with what we're seeing from our overall leaders, who did a 1:36.7 last time.
Running very well there.
So impressive.
Just for one or two people who are following the famous old names, you just saw him actually. I was going to mention Randy Depunier, who's 22nd, about to be lapped on the KM99. They're still playing catch up after that disaster. Mechanical issues during the night, and of course quite a lot of people following Michael Dunlop, who has brought the machine into the pits, number 27, the TR27 AZ Moto. Michael Dunlop into the pits from 20th place, but that appears to be nothing more than a routine rider and tyre change, so they'll be back out onto the track very soon. So some of the old favourites chugging along here quite nicely, and there is Depunier, number 99, way down in 22nd place, but they're sticking in there. There's always the outside chance of some points as well, so they've got to keep going.
He certainly didn't have the best of starts, did he? He had a big fall down at the final corner. It doesn't look great round. Look at the conditions. Lots of clouds around, isn't there?
Yeah,
I don't want to throw anything out there, but
no, we'll keep quiet now.
I was sort of thinking it's starting to get quite grey around there. And you can see the clouds are really starting to gather to the right of our screen.
There was a minimal chance of rain. There's some very nasty rain clouds in there. One thing I would say about the Le Mans weather, it does have a habit of staying fairly steady.
Look over to the left.
Yeah,
that just does not look pretty.
I'll have a look at the local weather forecast very soon.
Weatherman Chris Sora is on the case. I'm not suggesting it is going to rain, but I don't know. I think if you're Etienne Masson and Yoshimura, you're thinking that's when you start to. That's when you get a little bit nervous when you see things like that, and when you're Yamaha, you maybe start to do a bit of a rain dance.
I think we'll be all right here. It's fairly steady weather here at Le Mans normally, but I would agree there are some very angry clouds. There's no rain in the forecast at all, so this a little bit angry there. So
it's one of those things in our discipline, Chris. We like to throw out there.
Oh yeah, a bit of rain. It's I've been here in a thunderstorm before. When it rains, it does rain, but
just looks a bit grey, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What I will say, even if it isn't rain, it's just the temperature more than anything, doesn't it?
That's been the talking point, isn't it? All night, they seem to have coped fairly well, but there's been a couple of high-profile victims, of course. Most notably, the Yamaha team going down in the early hours, and many of the interviews as the riders come in to the pits has been along the same lines. It's just difficult to the grip has been better than anticipated for a lot of bikes, but especially in those early hours when the humidity rose, as the air temperature dropped. We were barely above freezing a couple of hours ago. I think at the moment we were looking about 5-6 degrees, starting to warm up slightly, but still pretty peaky out there. And the track, is that
was a bump?
Bit of a bump. That was 135, I think, came off worst at the Cam Racing.
Got to be careful with stuff like that. That was a bump to one of the back markers.
I think that was the Cam Racing team. Bit of a tangle there. Trading paint, if nothing more.
And
but
there was a hand up there to say, what was that about?
Jonathan Gorse there, number 135. Didn't look too happy with the race leader, did he?
No, and I think he may have had a reason to be, but
here we are.
Let's have another look at it.
Of course, just moving to the outside.
Here we go.
And classic two riders. Didn't quite see near each other were there. Same bit of track.
Cool racing incident.
I think luckily for Masson, he had the line there, so he was able to take that away from the one. That could have been nasty, you know. Both riders did very well to avoid an accident. Masson didn't look too happy, a bit of a shake of the head. I think if you asked both riders, they'd have the same.
Everyone's going to say he was in my way, and he was,
They'd have the same opinion, but blame the other guy.
Yes, exactly.
Essentially,
bit of finger pointing going on there. I think that's just you've just got to be careful.
Yes.
Yoshimura, haven't they?
I think it's one
Is this a case of they've got a Yamaha ahead of them, and they just don't want to see them charging up the road?
Yeah, tactical here.
Is there some egos? A bit of going on here? I mean,
I think it's just a case of keeping that Yamaha in range. It's no big deal.
They don't need to, though, do they?
Yeah.
They can just let that Yamaha charge off.
They can. It's
there's absolutely no reason for them to hang on to this Yamaha.
I think they're just sticking to the plan here. It's almost like just
5 laps on it.
Yeah, they're 137-ish, so they're lapping at a good pace. Here we do see the weather forecast. It's heating up a bit.
But they seem to be fighting very hard to stay with it.
Yeah, I think they're just keeping that Suzuki, keeping the Yamaha, I should say, in tow. Just maintaining it. It's almost like a good guideline, you would say, as they fight their way through the slower traffic. I almost think sometimes there's the risk if you drop the pace too much, that could be where the mistakes creep in as well, or the bike starts to play as well. So I think they're just... I think this is a classic case of playing the percentages here, just keeping that Yamaha in range and just staying with it on the track, so just maintaining that cushion.
That was just a highlight there, in my opinion, Chris, an unnecessary risk that was taken, and I think you've just got to keep a cool head here. You don't need to keep that Yamaha anywhere near you, really, but I think they're just wanting to hang on to it. I mean, it's making a good marker for them to follow. Just follow the braking points. I guess there's a
bit of a train here, actually, Chris, isn't there? Because you've got the 99 in front here.
The Randy Depunier in front, isn't he?
Just noticed actually that Michael Dunlop, I thought he was a rider change, back out onto the track, so he's continuing.
He's continuing on.
Yeah, so he's out there still. Randy Depunier leading this little group of riders. So this is the 21st place KM99 Yamaha leading the group of 3. We would expect, of course, KM99 to be a lot higher up in the rankings, but the mechanical issues overnight has dropped them way down to 21st. And as you say, Chris, of course, you've got this train of 3 front-running bikes here.
This is fantastic pictures, isn't it?
And I think it's almost like a marathon here. They're just sitting on each other a little bit here.
Yeah.
Sharing each other's pace. And the race leader just trying to tag on to the back of this train. But like you say, got to be careful going through some of the lap traffic, not to take too many risks, because we've seen how quickly it can all unravel.
Exactly that. Yamaha will want to clear 99, KM99 and get on. And then Yoshimura will just want to hang on to them. Oh, something just coming off there. But here we see our leaders on screen as we're 19.5 hours in to the 24-hour. Leaders number 12 on screen, the Suzuki.